Hi everyone, my name is Owen Milbury. I'm the Analyst Relations Manager here at the Salesforce Commerce Cloud. I'm excited to be joining you here today. I'm here with Nikki Baird, the Managing Partner for Retail Systems Research. So Nikki, thank you for joining us today and spending a few minutes.
Thanks for having me.
Great, so we are going to talk a little bit about retailers' pricing strategies. I think you guys have written a lot of great research on this recently, and I wanted to get a little bit of your perspective. So I think that pricing strategies, this is something that retailers maybe have been grappling with for a long time. Is there anything new under the sun? Kind of what's going on in the world of pricing strategy?
Yeah, I think there's been a lot of changes that have come about real recently. A lot of focus on dynamic pricing, on personalized pricing, a lot more intelligence that's going into pricing decisions that retailers are making. And so it's really been a technology-driven change that has kind of transported pricing into something beyond just something that the buyer sets the price and then you're done. That's not the way that retailers approach it any longer.
Yeah, interesting. So you mentioned dynamic pricing and personalized pricing, and I'm kind of curious if you could help us sort of define those terms a little bit. Say, what's the difference between them two, and is that important?
Yeah, I think a lot of people try to use the terms interchangeably, and I don't think that that's actually a fair thing to do. Dynamic pricing, to me, tends to be just more the sort of changing prices at a mass level. So think about like Amazon during Black Friday, where on some key items they'll change price 10, 20 times in a day, and they're changing that price to anybody who comes to look at that particular item. That I would characterize as dynamic pricing. Personalized pricing is much more about the customer than it is about the product. So that's more about a customer might get an offer that says, for you, the price of this item is different than the listed price. And there's a lot of dynamics that go into making those decisions behind which customer gets which offer and which price and all of those kinds of things. And that's why people try to use them interchangeably. But I would say dynamic is more about the product, and then personalized is more about the customer.
That's great. Well, yeah, I like to hear the customer. You're speaking our language here at Salesforce already. So I'm kind of curious, what to you is a customer-focused pricing strategy versus maybe focused on the competitors or something else? How do you see a customer-focused pricing strategy working?
Yeah, I think it gets back to that personalization. It's about understanding the customer, understanding the customer journey, and then using price as a way of moving that customer along the journey. So most people really focus on customer and price towards the sort of the tail end of the customer journey. So when they're trying to select products and actually do a transaction, and even to some degree some of the post-transaction service-oriented types things. But there's also opportunities around just making consumers aware. It's the offer, and sometimes the offer has a really big price component to it, and sometimes it's just, hey, you might like this item.
Yeah, that's really great. So, how does a pricing strategy sort of play into building loyalty? How should a retailer think about pricing as a part of a larger loyalty strategy?
Yeah, I think that's really important actually, because what we've seen over, especially since the Great Recession, is that consumers have been overly focused on price. We see it in our surveys all the time. Since like 2009, pretty much, retailers have said consumers are extremely price sensitive. I can't get them to do anything unless I'm cutting my prices. I don't want to be competing on low prices. I want to be able to compete on the other parts of my value offering to consumers. But that dynamic of consumers being really focused on price and retailers not really having the tools until now to kind of approach consumers with more differentiated pricing. So the biggest problem with a promotion that's a mass promotion is you've got a lot of people who would have bought it at full price anyway. You get a lot of people who are never going to buy it no matter how much you mark it down or make the offer. Yeah. And then there's people who are truly moved by that item. Yeah. And those other people you lose. For the people who would have bought it anyway, you lose margin. For the people who never would have bought it, you lose trust, you lose loyalty, because they're like, you don't know me, why are you giving me this offer? Yeah. And then it's only this small portion of the people for whom that offer was relevant that they would actually make that purchase feel that loyalty to that retailer for being relevant to them. So that being able to kind of cut off those other two groups of people and actually move them into a group where they're like, yeah, I love this offer. You know me, you understand what I want, you're giving me what I want. I think that goes a long way towards building loyalty.
Okay, yeah, that's really interesting. So, I think we're talking a little bit about personalization, and one of the things I was thinking about is sometimes something's personalized to me. So I go online and I'm searching for maybe swim trunks. I'm going on vacation, but the last time I went to that website, I bought a fleece because I was going skiing. So what's the difference between personalized and relevant, and how should retailers think of that?
Yeah, personalized, there's definitely a difference. This is another one where people try to use it interchangeably, and I think that's a mistake. Personalized means, yeah, I'm looking at all of your data. Maybe that's past purchase history, maybe that's your behavior right now, maybe that's demographics or psychographics, things that I know about you. You can be personalized, but as you said, if that's not where you are right now, then it's not relevant. And when an offer or a price is not relevant, then for that consumer, that's sort of the retailer breaking trust with them. It's like, I give you my information. I am a loyal customer. I want you to know me so that you can give me things that I like and that I want and that are relevant to me. Yeah. And I think it's that, but there's more to it than that. It's also the context of the shopper, kind of where they are in the shopper journey. The example I use all the time is if I decided, I've never taken a multivitamin and I decide that I want to take a vitamin, right? If I go to a retailer's site to look at, well, what kind of vitamins are there and what are my choices and what are the attributes, what should I be looking for in a vitamin? And right away they gave me an offer for 25% off this brand of vitamins, right? That's not relevant to me because I'm not ready, I'm not in that mind frame of being ready to buy. Yeah. And so that it's personalized, they know I'm looking at vitamins, but it's not relevant. Even though you would expect it to be relevant from my behavior, I'm too early in the purchase process, the customer journey, for that to be useful to me. So that I think there's both that the right product and the right price, but there's also the right place in the customer journey.
Yeah, that's really great. So I think obviously there are some retailers I think who are doing some of this now. Would you say that those who are being successful at offering more personalized pricing, is that strictly they've bought the right technology? Is that a business process? How are they going about being successful?
Yeah, that's a great question actually, because there's a lot of risk, there's a lot of fear and uncertainty on the part of retailers, and I think for the retailers who are doing things, the best strategy is so subtle that unless you have two really great shoppers that behave distinctly differently at a retailer, compare notes, that they might not actually be able to tell or understand if the retailer is personalizing offers. I think a great example of a retailer who's kind of on the learning curve right now is actually Target with their Cartwheel app. If you look at the app, one of the tabs is for you, like personal offers, and then you can see all the offers that are available to you. And when they first launched the app, those for you offers were not very personalized, but they're slowly increasing the amount of personalization in those offers over time so that the things that show up in the for you actually are relevant to what you buy and your purchase history with Target. And it's that slow ramp up that I think is really important, that you don't just want to get to where you're flipping a switch and all of a sudden, offers that were like, I throw half of these in the trash are now like, wow, this is like everything that I buy. They're worried about creeping consumers out. It's like, you don't want to be too personal in the offers that you make.
Yeah, absolutely, great. Yeah, so this sounds really interesting, and so I bet retailers are thinking, all right, how do I jump in? And when you're talking to people who are thinking that they need to start becoming more personalized in their pricing strategy, what do you recommend? Is it you need to buy the newest technology, or you need to take a slow and steady approach? How do you sort of counsel people in this regard?
Yeah, I think so. First of all, you have to have good customer data because you are making these decisions based off of the customer data that you have. And again, that could be purchase history, that could be things that I know about you, demographics, psychographics, it could be your behavior, but you need to sort of bring all of those together, and it needs to be clean because especially when you get down to a more granular level of interaction with consumers, if you've made a mistake or you've made an assumption, your exposure for, that was totally wrong, becomes actually much greater, right? That consumer is like, you don't know me at all. Yeah. So there's that side of it. And then I think there's two areas where retailers really need to focus. So the first part is get the offer right to begin with. And then the second part is how are you going to deliver that offer? Because you could come up with the best pricing strategy in the world, but if you can't get it into the individual hands of your individual shoppers, then I mean it's dead on arrival, right? You have no way of actually executing that strategy. And I think the other advice I would give is to take it slow. Like Target, start giving offers that seem personalized even when they're not, and then slowly increase that personalization over time so that for consumers the experience is subtle. It's more delight, like, wow, in this raft of offers there were 3 of them that I would actually use this time instead of throwing them all away. And then maybe next week, wow, there's like 5 things in here that I will actually use instead of throwing away. So you have to be subtle.
Great. So I think maybe just leave one last question here. Let's say it's Exchange 2018, 12 months from now. We're sitting here talking about pricing again. What do you hope that has changed in the next 12 months, or what do you think we'll be talking about?
I hope we'll still be talking about personalized pricing. I think that this is a slow burn. This is not something that's going to overtake the industry overnight. I mean, I think retailers are definitely purchasing the technology, and they're implementing, the data cleansing and pulling all of their customer data together now. I hope that we're talking about really great use cases where retailers have really implemented it, not just at that slow starting up the curve, but we're doing it whole hog. This is how we interact with our customers. That's what I hope for.
Great, excellent. Well, thank you so much for spending the time today. I really appreciated the conversation. If you'd like to learn more about Nikki's research, you can check it out at rsrresearch.com. More to come from Salesforce.